question. You were asking about, when did they, Vitalik and Joe, when did they start distancing themselves from me? And when did they start discrediting my role? And the answer to that question was like mid 2017. And then when I got prosecuted, for everybody who doesn't know, we proved that there was multiple agencies that fabricated a crime to prosecute me. That was late 2019. So that was 2.5 years before that. Now, you're asking why. I want to make sure, because I know not everybody knows the whole story. So, why don't you ask me the question?
Imagine they don't. So maybe answer it in a way that kind of sums up the story briefly for people that don't know.
So I was involved in the very early days of Ethereum, from like literally the very first month. I created the utility token and the ICO for Ethereum, and then and that was in 2014, and then in 2015, Vitalik called me, and everybody should know, we're going to be dropping this. It was a 3-hour conversation with they were going under. So he asked me to restructure the entire Ethereum Foundation to save it. And I've got the whole thing recorded. I'm going to drop it. We're doing it as an NFT. It's free, but everybody can have it. So
when are you dropping it? Very brief. When are you dropping it, Stephen?
In like the next 4 or 5 days.
Oh shit.
Okay, it's like a Funkmaster Flex mixtape in the 90s.
But hold on.
I think this is actually...
Let's carry on the story. Because I think this is a very, very, very fascinating story.
I think it's going to wake up a lot of people in terms of, this is not about, this isn't a personal thing, right? But it's going to wake up a lot of people in terms of, what really happened back there. Like, people can make their own decision. I've got it recorded. Right, and so you can see, like, what did Vitalik, what did he know, what did Joe know, and so it's a kind of a piece of history, but it'll also give you some perspective on what was really happening back then. Now you can fast forward, and now I'm going to just flat out say, there was, a lot of people have heard about this Ethgate, where there's, ETH got this free pass from the SEC, where the SEC came up with this argument that actually took my utility token argument and somehow concocted it into something was a security and it's no longer a security because it's decentralized now. And that's what Hinman gave a speech for. So is everybody familiar with that?
Yeah, that's
the Hinman speech. I think people are aware of. Yeah.
Yeah, well, so I'm going to...
That's a speech where Hinman basically said that ETH wasn't a security because it's decentralized, and that's what Ripple was back into the Hinman speech and said, if ETH is not a security, why is Ripple a security? Or XRP a security, sorry.
Right, so I'm going to make I'm going to be very blunt, and I will show the evidence on what I'm about to say. For legal reasons, I can't tell you exactly what it is, but I will show it to you. It's like weeks. It's not months. Number one, Ethereum itself did not believe it was decentralized when that speech was given. Nor was it decentralized. Nor could Joe or Vitalik have believed it was, because there's internal documents that indicate otherwise. And the only person that understood and had access to those documents and understood that was me. And if you follow the fabrication of the crime against me, which I proved from the government's own documents, it was the SEC was leading it, the FBI, the DOJ, everybody in this industry should care about what happened, because they weren't only after me, they were after, everybody who's a speaker on here pretty much was on a list. They wanted everybody. I mean, I told Rand at the time, and I know I sounded like a crazy person, but it's true. They were looking to get as many people in this industry as possible. And that all started at the very same time, coincidentally, when Hinman got to the SEC, and the people that were leading the charge at the SEC was Hinman and my prosecution.
So, Stephen, I just want to hone the discussion in a little bit. So this bombshell that's about to drop, is this all around the fact that they knew that Ethereum wasn't decentralized while Hinman said that it was?
Well, that's part one. They knew there was requirements that they had to do that they did not do, that specifically related to whether or not it would be decentralized.
And what are the implications? I mean, we're now 5 years forward. What are the implications of the fact that it wasn't decentralized? Why? What are the
the implications are? Let's go back. All right, so let's go back for a second. Let's go back to the ICO. The ICO, I think it's pretty clear at this point. I set it up, okay, and it was perfectly fine, and I had the product narrative, and I set all the pieces in place. Except if you listen to Gary Gensler, he personally has said that Joe Lubin bought 9.5%, and there's no speculative buying that turns it from a product into a security. So now you've got a securities offering. Okay, so now when you go into, is it decentralized, is it not decentralized, and you've got people like Lubin and Vitalik going out and telling it's decentralized and there's a public market for it, you're now under the securities laws. I'm not going to make an accusation in terms of what laws were broken. Is it securities fraud? Is it market manipulation? Is it what? That's for the lawyers to figure out. But you're no longer in crypto land.
Okay, but I mean, so are you insinuating that potentially there's going to be charges against Vitalik and Joe Lubin?
Well, that's up to the DOJ and the SEC. Here's the thing: the SEC claims that they had nothing to do. Just so you guys understand what's going on here, the SEC claimed that I was crazy. They had nothing to do with this. None of this happened. And then I requested all the information that they have on me, which they said they didn't have any. But then by law, they had to tell me. They have 14 gigabytes of data on me in just a 5-year period. What the hell is 14 gigabytes if they had nothing to do with my prosecution? That makes sense, right?
Okay, so
I think everybody can figure that out.
But I'm just trying to work out what I'm trying to unravel the potential implications, because what I've been gathering is that you've been holding a lot of information and you're about to drop a bombshell. I'm just trying to work out what the collateral damage of the bombshell is going to be.
Well, you've got people that have something that's, actually go back to a lot of people miss the first Hinman speech, and that was the DAO report. The DAO report, for those who don't know, there was a DAO where it was basically, like a venture fund, and people put like 15% of all the ether into the DAO, and then there was a hack, and there's questions about whether or not the hack was an inside job or not. Let's put that aside for a second. But you've got securities violations there, and Hinman papered that over with the DAO report, which doesn't make sense because he said basically they're grandfathered in 2016, 2017, but then he goes after Ripple in 2013. Like, that's completely inconsistent. Those are inconsistent positions.
Steve, you also said something like that they fabricated or they created a fake case against you.
Absolutely.
If I remember reading the details of your case, wasn't your case an extortion case against that was laid by a project?
Yeah, that project was a setup. That project is called Storm X, for everybody to know. Simon Yu is the CEO. Ari Yu was the president. The whole thing was a setup. And when did it start? May of 2017, the same month that Hinman got there. And that co-conspirator, everybody's. Go ahead.
And why do you think they went against you? Or why do you think? Who do you think went against you, and why?
Oh, so we have proof. We got into the government's documents. We have proof, and my attorney's on here. I don't know if he can speak or not. Mike Scotto, if we can put him into speak mode. But we found this is unprecedented. We found proof that the SEC, the FBI, and the DOJ fabricated the evidence, literally fabricated it. Like there were documents that we found on FBI letterhead that I had nothing to do with. I never even knew existed. And those were the documents they prosecuted me on. There was no crime. The crime never happened. The discredit, so I'm going to be very clear. The discrediting and the prosecution was to take me out because I'm the only person who could reveal this whole Ethgate saga and what they did, and they're working with Hinman that to get themselves this regulatory pass.
And Steve, when are you going to drop this? Because we need to wrap soon, and I see Dave Weisberg has got his hand up. So just when are you going to drop all this information?
That's up to, that's what's the frustrating part is that it's kind of up to my attorneys. I'm going to be dropping the recording of the restructuring very shortly. I will tell you, the attorneys that I have are people that their names that everybody on this call knows. They're luminaries, they're like the top of the industry. So I'm anticipating in December where we'll be filing it and all the proof will be there. But there will be some major press about this before the end of this month that will expose all of this, except it won't happen necessarily.
Ryan, should we drop the recording, Ryan, on a space? How long is the recording for, Stephen?
Long.
How long is the recording for, Stephen?
Almost 3 hours. 3 hours.
Cool. We'll do 3 hours space.
And it comes with a transcript too.
Dave, I see your hands up. Your hand's been up for a while.
In fact, Mario, I'll tell you what. I'll send it. Just so I'll send it to you, and you can take a look at it first, and then if you want, we can just talk about it on other spaces.
I'll check. Ran, what do you think?
I mean, both of you, of course, both of you.
Cool. All right. I appreciate that, Stephen. Dave, get your thoughts on what was just discussed now. And just to, again, a reminder for anyone listening, I know that the conversation kind of shifted, but we're going to talk to 9inch. We're going to talk to 9inch in a bit. They're an exchange focused, a DEX focused on meme coins. So we'll be getting them up shortly. Dave, your thoughts?
Yeah.